Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the second jazz guitar lesson. I hope that you're all doing well. Thanks so much for coming back to check out the lesson. And for today, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of new chords. We're going to be taking a look at some common chord symbols so that you guys can navigate changes if you're just playing some standards in like a real book, or maybe you're playing something online and you have the chord chart in front of you, just to make sure you can understand all the chord symbols that you're going to see coming your way. And then we're also going to take a look at doing a little change to these shell voicings and getting smoother voice leading in the actual bass of these chords. And it's really going to smooth out the progressions and kind of help us to start visualizing some inversions with these as well. So super handy to take a look at all these. So yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed the first lesson as well. If you guys have any questions, anything, feel free to shoot me a private message on YouTube or just leave a comment in the comment section. I'll try to help you guys out as much as I can. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into these first couple of new chords here, and then we'll continue on to common chord symbols. Alright guys, so the first new shape that we're going to take a look at is a 6 chord, or a major 6 chord. And this is going to be kind of our first, it could be a substitute that we're going to be taking a look at as well. So this is a chord that you'll see this coming through like a real book or something like that. You know, you'll see like an F6 or a C6. But you can also substitute this chord in if you see like a C major 7. So you could also play this. And obviously with all this stuff, you just have to use your ears to figure out, you know, when it's actually going to work and when it sounds good. Just because theoretically it makes sense and it works doesn't mean that it's always going to sound the best. And with a lot of this stuff, it's absolutely useful to know how it all works, know the theory behind it, but sometimes I would venture to say it's even more useful just to know when it actually sounds good and to get really comfortable with all the sounds of these. And you know, obviously having both those down really well is the ideal situation, where you know the theory, you know the sounds, yeah, you know where you can use them and where they're going to sound good. So at any rate, here's our major 6 chord. So we're going to go back to do, let's see, the major 7 that we were working with a while back. So we're going to have this right here. So here's our major 7, kind of one of the first shapes that we had actually learned. Okay, now what we're going to do is change the fingering around slightly. So put your middle where your pointer is, move your ring up 1, and then put your pinky on the 9th fret of the G. Okay, so new fingering, same chord. Okay, now take your ring off and put your pointer 2 frets toward the headstock on the same string. And that is a 6 chord, C6 in this case. Here would be B flat 6, A flat 6, and then G6. Okay, and you can bring that in and out as well with like, just if you're playing a major 7 chord, you can kind of bring that in, you know, as you wish. So you could just be like 7, 6. So you can kind of see how I'm just kind of bringing, you know, going from 7 to 6, 7, 6. So you can kind of bring that, you know, in and out as you wish, and it can add some really nice movement to your chord. Okay, now for shape 2. Let's go back down here to our major 7 shape. Shape 2 again. Now we're just going to do a little bar with our pointer finger, 2nd fret of the D and the G, and take our pinky off. And there's our 6 chord. Okay, up to F, E flat, D flat, C. Okay, back up to our first shape, 2nd shape. So you can see how nice that is. It just adds a little bit of movement into that shape. And like I said, sometimes you'll see just like a C6 coming your way. But sometimes when you see a major 7, just try throwing this in just to add a little bit of movement into, you know, if you're hanging on that chord for a little while. Sounds really great. Okay, now let's take a look at kind of an interesting sound, minor major 7 chord. And this chord, is a interesting sound. It's basically a minor chord with a major 7. Okay, so normally with a minor chord, we're going to have a flat 7. So like from C, so the intervals are root, flat 7, and then flat 3rd. Okay, now we're going to take a 7 and move it up 1 fret. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to put our ring where our pinky is, then put our pinky on the 9th fret of the D. So it's a pretty interesting sound. I mean, you can change the fingering around a little bit for that. Maybe I'll swap out my pointer for my middle, and then put my middle where my ring was, and then put my ring where my pinky was. So now I have pointer, ring, middle, in that order from lowest string to highest. It's a minor major 7 chord. It's interesting sound at first. You may not even really like this sound, but it's definitely really pretty in the right context. And with a lot of this stuff, sometimes it just takes your ear a little bit of time to kind of get used to the sound of some of these. At first I came from just a very, I was playing a lot of pop music, rock, some blues and stuff like that, and getting into some of these new sounds and stuff, like a minor major 7 and all that, it took my ear a little while to actually appreciate the sound and the tension of some of these chords. But as time went on, I really started to enjoy the sound of some of these. So just give your ear a little time to adjust to some of these more, interesting sounds. And yeah, at any rate, like here's an idea. Like maybe if we're taking a minor 2-5-1 progression, okay. Just add the flat 5 on top there, just so you can kind of hear how that's going to be changing. Okay, to the 5. So you can hear it's a pretty interesting sound, but it's really pretty. And you might have heard this before, just a standard minor chord to minor major 7, to minor 7, to minor 6. So this kind of sound. So pretty neat sound there. Okay, so that is from our shape 1. Now let's go to shape 2. So just a standard C minor 7. Now just move your pinky up 1 fret. And you'll have our C minor major 7. Okay, which is another, I really enjoyed that voicing of it. Sounds cool with the major 7th being on top like that. Pretty unique sound to it for sure. So those are a couple of new chords. Make sure you get comfortable with those, spend some time working those out, and you'll see those every once in a while comping through a real book and stuff, and that minor major 7 chord. So just be looking for those chords as you're comping through whatever standards, and pay attention to how they're being used. What chord is coming up next, what chord was before it. And just, learn where these chords go in like musical situations. I think that's really, really useful. So just kind of be paying attention and watching out for these chords, noticing, like I said, what comes before and what goes after, and seeing how they're actually being applied in a musical situation. I think that's one of the best ways to learn this stuff. So yeah, those are a couple of new chords. Let's just have a quick talk now about some common chord symbols and how you will usually be seeing these notated. Alright guys, so for these chord symbols, we'll start off, we'll just kind of go through all of our shapes and how they'll usually be coming at you when you see them like in a chord chart or something like that. So at any rate, first shape we'll go over is just our major 7 shape. Normally you're going to see this notated as like the letter, so in this case C, and then M, A, J, and then 7. So this would be C, B flat, and then after that the M, A, J, and then the 7, or sometimes C and then a little triangle and then 7. Okay, so that's normally how you see those notated. Dominant 7. For these you're just going to see the letter and then just 7, just the number 7 directly after the number, or the letter, excuse me. Okay, so in this case we just have C and then just the number 7. Okay, here would be just B flat and then the number 7. So that's how you'll commonly see those notated. Minor 7, so in this case C minor 7. Okay, you're commonly going to see this as just C, a minus sign, and then 7. Okay, so your B F and then a little minus and then 7. G and then a little minus and then 7. Back up to C, minus and then 7. That's how you're going to see those notated usually. Minor major 7, how are you going to see those notated? Well, normally it's going to be a minus sign, so in this case C, a little minus, and then in parentheses an MAJ 7, so just to kind of basically tell you it's a minor chord with a major 7 on there. Okay, so you're commonly going to see that notated. Okay, and then next up for the so you got the minor 7 in there as well. Now, next up for the minor 6, you're just going to usually see this as just like a C, little minus sign, and then 6. Okay, so that's how you're going to see minor 6 coming at you. Minor 7, flat 5, you're going to see those coming your way just as a little minus 7 once again, and then just a little flat sign, and then 5. So that's how you see those minor 7 flat 5s coming your way. And then diminished 7 chord. You also might see these minor 7 flat 5s coming your way as a little circle with a slash through it, and then 7. Okay, a fully diminished 7th chord. Okay, how are you going to see those coming your way is usually going to be a circle and then 7 right after it. So it's the little difference, no slash through the circle, as in minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so again, you're going to see those usually coming your way just as a, in this case it'd be C, a little circle, and then 7 right after it. Notate C fully diminished 7. Or B fully diminished 7, so any of those. So yeah, that's those are kind of the main common chord symbols, just for 7th chords in this case, that you're going to see coming your way. So just so you guys know how to, how to read all those when they're actually coming your way in a chord chart or something like that. Obviously, extremely important. So yeah, you might want to, if you weren't, go back and write each of those out quick, or just take a look at them in a chord chart and make sure that you can recognize them all really quickly and efficiently. And yeah, so those are just obviously a must know. So let's move on now to taking a look at changing these cage shapes up just a little bit so we can get an inversion and smooth out our leading in the bass, our voice leading in the bass. So let's take a look at that now. Alright, so what we're going to be doing for these inversions is we're going to be putting the 5th in the bass. Okay, now what we're actually going to be doing to get this, it's going to be pretty simple. It's not going to take too much thinking or too much time to really get these down. It's a really quick process to actually understand these. So what we're going to be doing, we're not actually going to be doing any changes to all the first shapes that we had looked at. So all these are major 7, dominant 7. Those are just going to be staying the same. But what we are going to be changing a little bit when we actually need to, when it's going to make the most sense to, and we'll talk about this too. We're going to be changing shape 2 around a little bit though. Okay, and all that we're going to be doing is for all of these shapes, okay, so whether we're playing, dominant 7, major 7, or minor 7, whatever, all that we're going to be doing is putting the 5th in the bass, and what that looks like is, it's really, really simple. All that we're going to be doing is just whatever our lowest bass note is. Okay, so in this case the ring is playing it, like right now I'm playing a D minor 7. My ring finger's on that D. The 5th is just on the low E string. So we're just going to be putting that ring finger up a string, up to the low E. So really simple. Okay, let's resolve that to C. Now you're going to do the same thing. Here's our C major. The lowest bass note is played by the middle, and up 1 string. Okay, so you can hear that. it's, again, just a really, really simple, easy process to do that, and that works with all of our chord shapes. So like, let's take G7 up here, for instance. G dominant 7. Okay, here's our lowest bass note, just move that up one string. So whatever the lowest note is in the chord, just move it up one string, same fret, and you'll have the inversion. Okay, now why would we do this? Well, it's to smooth out the voice leading in the bass. Okay, so right here, for instance, let's take a 2-5-1 in C. So D minor 7, G dominant 7, C major 7. Okay, right now our bass is doing this. 2-5-1. Okay. Okay, now let's take our G dominant 7 and do our little bass trick where we put the 5th in the bass. So our lowest note, just move it up one string. Okay, now we'll have this. Now the bass is just going. You can hear how smooth that is. Okay, so really, really helps out with that change, and you can even add a little chromatic passing tone in there to get to 1. Okay, you don't have to know the theory behind that or anything. You can just sneak that in there. Okay, another 2-5-1 to B flat. Okay, so really nice sound. Okay, now let's just take all the things you are really quick. So F minor 7, E flat minor 7, E dominant 7, or excuse me, E flat dominant 7, A flat major 7. Okay, so there's our chords. Okay, now for this F minor 7, the next chord, now here's where it's going to take a little bit of thought, is what chord is actually coming next. This is where you're going to have to kind of pay attention to how your roots are going to be moving, okay? So for instance, here's our F minor 7, here's where if we put the 5th in the bass. Okay, again, just find the bass note. It's always going to just be the root of the chord for these. So for instance, here's the F, move it up one string to the low E, you have the 5th in the bass. Okay, now in this case, our bass line is going. Okay, that's what our bass is doing. So why not just put this 5th in the bass? Because this C is closer to this B flat than the F is to the B flat. So then we get this. Okay, now for the E flat dominant 7, instead of the E flat in the bass, I'm going to put the B flat in the bass because that's going to be closer to A. Okay, so listen to how smooth this sounds. And I did a little chromatic passing tone there, just to get a little movement going into that one chord. Okay, so again, here's the original. Throwing that 6th chord in there. Okay, now here is the new version. 5th in the bass, 5th in the bass, down to the 1 chord. Okay, now the next chord that's going to come our way is D flat major 7. Okay, we could do this. So here's our D flat in the bass, or we could put the A flat in the bass, and the bass note isn't even going to have to change. So then we'll get this. See how smooth that is once again. Okay, so it really smooths the progression out, and again, this is really simple to do. You just find your root note, move it up one string to the low E, and you'll have the inversion. And again, just pay attention to when this is going to make the most sense. So now let's take a 2-5-1 to C. Okay, starting from shape 2. Okay, now for this D minor 7, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just look at how our root notes are moving. Okay. Okay, so if I put A in the bass, if I put the 5th in the bass, now my bass is going to be doing that, and the movement is going to be a little bit smoother. Okay, so here's what we're going to have this time. Okay, now what about this C? What if I put the fifth in the bass for that? I won't even have to move when I switch from the G to the C, and it's going to be really smooth. Going to my sixth chord again, just to add a little movement. Okay. Now I could add a little passing tone in there, chromatic passing tone, to get from A flat, G to C. Okay, so then we have, here's the stock. Okay, here is the new one. Okay, so really, really smooth. You can hear how nice that is. And you know, just experiment with this. Just again, be paying attention to how your root notes are going to be moving, and see where it's going to make it, you know, really smooth it out to put this fifth in the bass. Okay, and again, basically all the shapes are going to be the exact same. It's just whatever was the lowest note is just going to be up one string. Now, the only time these won't actually be the same is for our chords with a flat 5 in them. Okay, so for instance, like if we're playing this. Let's say we're playing this F minor 7 right here. Let's say it's an F minor 7 flat 5. Well, this is going to be a natural 5, so anything that has a flat 5 in it, we just have to move it one fret towards the head. Okay, so there's our flat 5 right there. Okay, so let's say we're doing like a minor 2-5-1. Okay, let's do a minor 2-5-1 to C minor. So this is going to be a D minor 7 flat 5. Again, just remembering a minor 2-5-1 is minor 7 flat 5, dominant 7, and then minor 7, or you know, minor major 7. And that the reason we get those kind of funky chords is just for how the chords actually lead from one to the next. Okay, you can hear how these are going to lead. You can hear how that flat 5 is going to lead. Okay, now how this dominant 7 is going to lead us into the 1 chord. Pay attention to all those tones. You can hear how smoothly that leads us. Okay, again. So it really leads us nice and smooth. That's kind of why 2-5-1 progression is that, and it actually comes from the harmonic minor scale as well. Okay, so if we had a minor 2-5-1, just to C minor, okay, so we have D minor 7 flat 5. Now again, the 5 is flat, so we can't just put the 5th in the bass. Just like this, we have to move it down 1 fret from where the 5th normally would be. Okay, so then we'd have... Okay, so right there, here is a stock progression. Okay, here's the new guy. And right there, instead of this C minor 7, I'm putting the 5th in the bass once again because I don't have to do any movement. Okay, so here we have the progression again. So really super smooth. Okay, resolving to a minor major 7 that time. Which is a pretty tense sound, but can be kind of cool. Okay, or if that was a diminished 7 as well, we would have to find our 5th, move it 1 fret towards the head. So when you're going to do this, you know, after you find your 5th, once again, when you're going to actually make it flat is when you see minor 7 flat 5, or a little circle with a slash through it, and then, or otherwise just a circle with a 7 notating fully diminished 7. So that's when you're going to move that 5th down 1 fret, because in both those chords, the 5th is going to be flat. And again, that's just for how it leads. Okay, I mean, you can basically hear how that progression is going to resolve even before the next chords start coming your way. You know, you can almost hear where this chord is going, and now you can really hear that final resolution coming your way. Okay, so that is using our inversion there. And again, you know, just kind of be watching for this where it's going to work. Like We're doing a 2-5-1 to B flat, so we're going to have C minor, F dominant, B flat. Here's how this is going to work. Here's the stock one. Okay, now what we can do is, here's our F dominant 7, just move that lowest note up 1, get the inversion, and go to B flat. Okay, same thing to A flat, here's B flat, E flat dominant 7, 5th in the bass. Okay, so that obviously sounds really, really nice, getting that nice smooth bass movement in there. So that's kind of the reason that we're using these inversions. And when we get into like our fuller chords like drop 2 and drop 3, we're going to be focusing way more heavily on inversions and mastering our inversions all the way around the fretboard and all that good stuff. But you know, for right now, this is just kind of a very basic intro to inversions. And again, you're not even going to have to really be thinking a whole ton about these because it's just so simple. You know, you basically, we're only doing the inversions with shape 2, so you only have these, basically this one shape to master. And for all these, you know, that 5th is just going to be just one string up. So even, let's just take D major 7 right here, putting the 5th in the bass, up to the low E. Okay, let's take D dominant 7. There's a 5th in the bass. Okay, let's take D minor 7. There's a 5th in the bass. D minor 7 flat 5. Here's where we're going to move that bass note, the 5th, 1 fret towards the headstock. Okay, and then we'll solve that. So for all these, you can see how that 5th is just right there. So we were going to go over moving these to the next set of strings today, but just for time's sake, I think we'll move on to that next week, because just looking at these inversions and finding them on the fretboard is such an important thing. I think just kind of for you guys just to really work this out for the next week and take this through a whole bunch of progressions and stuff. Because, you know, now you're going to have to be noticing, well, how are my roots moving? How, you know, if I invert this, is it going to be closer or farther away? You know, how can I make this, you know, smooth as possible? And then also just throwing that, you know, chromatic passing tone in where it works, as we had found, like, okay, so, you know, 2-5-1 to C. So we found, you know, putting that 5th in the bass for D minor 7. Doing that little chromatic passing tone in there. Okay, then another little, I just basically went from D flat major 7 down to C major 7 and then put the 5th in the bass. Okay, and we get a super cool sound there. So, you know, just be paying attention to how all your roots are moving. You know, how you can, you know, if you invert it, like I said, is it going to be closer or farther away? Are the roots going to be doing a shorter movement? So just be looking for where you can actually make those roots move the shortest amount possible. You know, and technically not going to be the roots anymore if it's the 5th of the chord or whatever, but just be looking for how you can get the smallest movement possible basically in the bass. Okay, as we had looked at all the things you are, okay, you know, right here, to invert the F was closer to the B flat. To invert the E flat was closer to the A flat. And then what's nice is we can do that little chromatic passing tone for all of them. You know, to our D flat major 7, keeping that 5th in the bass then. There was the root, and here's the 5th. Okay, so just, you know, be paying attention for that, and this will really kind of start improving your ear as well. You know, just be listening to how these progressions sound. Again, you know, the theoretical knowledge is really important, but be listening to how they actually sound, how that bass is actually moving from one chord to the next, and that's gonna really help develop your ear, and you know, listening for those chromatic passing tones, when they're gonna work, when they're not gonna work. Is very important. Again, you know, just use your ear for that. Let your ear kind of be your guide for all of this stuff. You know, see, do I like the sound of this? Does it not sound good? But also make sure you give your ear a little bit of time to develop. You know, because you might find yourself enjoying some sounds that you used to not really enjoy. So yeah, that's just some stuff for you guys to work on. You know, put some major time into working these inversions out, going through a lot of progressions. Just start with 2-5-1s for right now, and then start going through your standards and working out these inversions. And you'll definitely really start developing, developing some nice smooth sounds here, some nice smooth progressions, and really start hearing, these inversions and how the bass is working, how the top notes are working. Everything is kind of working together to make a nice smooth sound when you're going from one chord to the next. So yeah, again, these are just simple chords, but they're really, really amazing just for getting us through standards quickly, getting us playing some jazz and getting our ear developed to this stuff. So yeah, next week we'll have our third jazz guitar lesson. So I will see you guys all back here for that. And yeah, thanks so much for checking out these lessons. I hope you guys have been enjoying them, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much, everyone.